Geometry Unit 1, Lesson 6. I can measure and classify different types of angles. So let's dive right in. What is an angle? Well, an angle is two rays that share an endpoint. So if you look at our diagram, you have ray GB and ray GK sharing endpoint G. The endpoint is what we're going to call the vertex. So the endpoint, the two rays in an angle share. And we say this little symbol right here, angle. So this right here, that is the vertex. So now we're going to talk about measuring and classifying and naming. We're going to do three different things right now. And these right over here now, I'm going to go ahead and call classes. So if you think about it, if you have 9 grade levels as a student, you are classified as a freshman. You're in the freshman class. If you have 10 grade levels, that's your measure, 10, then you're in the sophomore class. So your class, the group you're put in, that's what classifying means, to be put in a group, depends on, in this case, your measure. So if we're talking about angles, what I want to think about for what's called an acute angle, think of cute like a cute little pet. Usually cute pets are small. That's the way I think of it. And so a cute little pet is going to be an angle that's small. And for us, that means an angle whose measure right there is going to be less than 90 degrees but bigger than nothing. So that's an acute angle. Now an obtuse angle is an angle whose measure is greater than 90 degrees but also less than 180. Now a right angle is 90 degrees. So if you're right in between acute and obtuse, you're a right angle, you're 90. We've seen this symbol before, meaning perpendicular, but it also means 90 degrees. And finally, a straight angle is 180 degrees. And that would look like this. And think of it's pretty much like half of a circle. 180, and you can think of it as two opposite rays as well. Now for the guided practice, this is very, very, very important. Notice these three different instructions. There's name, there's measure, and there's classify. If I asked your name, you would just tell me your name. If I asked your measure, maybe in the number of grade levels you have, you might say 10th grade. If I said classify yourself based on that measurement, 10th grade, you'd say, oh, the class I'm in is sophomores. So let's do it now for this angle. If I name this angle, the important part is that you start with one of these points on the ends, and you keep, if you think of it with your highlighter, keep your highlighter down on the paper as you go. This here I could call angle DFU. So I can use my angle symbol, which you speak out loud, angle DFU. Now you also could have said angle UFD. Either one of those would be fine. Notice, and this is really important, that the vertex is always the letter in the middle of the three. Has to be the case. So I cannot stress that enough. There's your vertex. There's your vertex. Now, there's one other way to name it, and I could just say angle F. When you're allowed to use a single letter versus 3 letters, you can always use 3 letters to name an angle. However, there's only sometimes you can use a single letter, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about the measure of this angle. This right here, this little m next to this angle symbol, actually means the word measure. You speak this as the measure of angle, and now I'm going to use the name DFU. DFU is equal to, in this case, 35 degrees. Now, the class then we're going to put this in, if you look up here, would be what? Acute. You can try the second one by hitting pause. All right, here I go. So I'm going to name this. I'm going to name it YRS. Angle YRS. Or you might have said angle SRY. And if you use a single letter, you would just say angle R. The measure is the measure of angle YRS is equal to 125 degrees. And the class that puts it in, obtuse. So let's go apply these ideas now. So here is a situation where we have multiple angles. Here's an angle here and an angle here. And if you put them together, they make one big angle. So we're going to go with what we're going to call, like the segment addition postulate, we're going to call it the angle addition postulate. Whereas before, all we did was said this plus this equals the whole thing. Now what we're going to say is this angle plus this angle equals the whole thing. So 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. Same idea, add up 2 pieces, get a bigger piece. So let's go ahead and write that down. If we add 2 or more, because you can add more than just 2 or more angles, notice how I'm using symbols for angles. If you add 2 or more angles, and we get a bigger angle. So what might an example be? Well, this is the hard part. Watch really carefully. This yellow right here, if you were to add that angle to this pink angle here, you'd end up with the whole blue angle here. So the way I'm going to think about that is if I add the yellow to the pink, I get equals the blue. Now we just want to name this right. Let's look at the yellow. That's angle AXE. Okay, so I'm going to put this little m here. The measure of angle AXE, because I want its measure, not its name. So its measure, how many degrees it is, plus the pink one is angle EXL. So the measure of angle EXL gives me the measure of angle AXL. And you might say, could I use a single letter here? And imagine if you just use the letter X. Would that make sense? No, because I don't know if you said the measure of angle X. Is angle X the yellow one, the pink one, the blue one? I don't know. Because multiple angles share that vertex, you cannot use a single letter in this situation. So if you want to be safe, you can just always use 3 letters. So let's actually apply this now and try and solve some problems. If you look at this one here, what you'll find is the measure of angle PKC. You're not done until that's done. So here I go. I know that this angle here in yellow plus this angle here in pink is equal to the whole blue angle, the angle addition postulate. So I'm going to go ahead and just set it up as I did before and watch my notation. So let's see. What is the measure of this first angle? Angle PKS. That's the notation for it. The pink one is the measure of angle SKC. And finally, the measure of angle PKC. That's the notation. And if the colors help you, I would really use them. And now let's substitute. Before I do that, I'm going to go and mark this diagram up. It says that PKS is 25. So let me see. PKS, that's 25 degrees. SKC is 47. S to K to C. S to K to C, that is 47 degrees. So I want P to K to C, P to K to C. I want the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute 25 degrees here, 47, don't need the degree symbol actually, there, and I'm going to leave this as the measure of angle PKC. That's my find, it's what I'm looking for. So if I go ahead and add these up, any scratch work, go do off to the side. I should get 60, I think 72 degrees is the final measure of angle PKC. Now, you can try the next one on your own. The only difference is the algebra. So if I slide this up, do the same idea, take a look here. PKC, I'm mixing and matching things to try and confuse you. This one here in yellow and this one here in pink, if you add them up, you still get the blue. But just be really, really careful. For example, up here, my yellow PKS was right here. And the pink was right here. The blue was right there. You have to read very carefully because I'm mixing and matching. PKC is blue here. So this entire thing is 70 degrees. CKS, C to K to S, C to K to S is pink, and this last one is yellow. So I have to be very careful when I annotate that I put things in the right spot. My find is just X this time. Okay, so my notation, it's still the same idea. Yellow plus pink is equal to blue. Put the names in, PKS, so the measure of angle PKS plus the measure of angle SKC is equal to PKC, measure of angle PKC. But put things in the right spot. So yellow, this is just X, pink is X plus 10, and blue is 70. Don't just go in order or you'll get it wrong. Now if you add like terms, this is our situation. Let's take 10 from both sides. You're left with 2x is equal to 60. And if you divide both sides by 2, you get x is equal to 30. And that is what you're looking for since you were looking for x. So again, find your find. If there's not a picture, make one. And then mark up your picture. Give me your notation and your equation to solve. Here's your relationship. Good luck.